Hello everybody, welcome to our video on subject and theme. We'll be identifying subjects in stories and analyzing themes within stories and over the course of the next few classes. Before we start talking about subject and theme, I think it's important that we talk about why we read literature. I know it's a deep question, but so as an introduction, there are a lot of people who question whether or not we should read fiction, whether or not it's important. And there are arguments against it. People often say it's not factual. It doesn't actually give you factual information about the world. It doesn't usually help someone make a living or get a job unless they're writing fiction or reviewing fiction. It's not real. Kind of goes back to not factual, but and because of this, it's a waste of time. That really reading fiction is not necessary, it's not that important, and that it certainly shouldn't be a requirement in school. And although I can see how all those are valid, I have to say that I think that there definitely is a serious value in fiction. And I think that you can see it in the quote, if any of you have seen the movie V for Vendetta, there's a quote by one of the characters, artists use lies to tell the truth. The quote actually continues and someone says politicians use the truth to tell lies, but in this case specifically, in our discussion of fiction, artists use lies to tell the truth. So the idea is that although it may not be factual or quote-unquote real, it does have an actual value, a truthful value. I think that fiction can allow us to live lives that are other than our own, to step in the shoes of somebody else and understand someone else. Fiction allows us to experiment with decisions and situations we might not have yet encountered and see how we might feel and what we might think in those situations. So, for example, you've been reading short stories about teenagers, and they've come across different choices and situations that they've encountered, and they've had to make decisions, and we've seen the outcomes. You know, some of those situations I hope you're never in, but God forbid, you might be able to make a decision based on some, not factual information, but based on thinking about the situation beforehand because you've read this story. And finally, fiction forces us to challenge our understanding and assumptions about the world. We can question our values and beliefs and grow into a deeper understanding of ourselves. So if we look at a story that has a character we just abhor, we don't understand, but the author presents that person and that character in a different light, it might change the way we look at the world. So the reason I bring this up is because this value in fiction that makes us look at the world and question ourselves can be found most deeply when we discuss things like subject and theme. So we'll start with subject. Here's a definition. A subject is a one or two word topic in a work of fiction. It is usually an abstract concept. So here are some examples of subjects: love, hate, violence, wealth, innocence, family bonds, war, addiction, race, freedom, poverty, religion, gratitude, kindness. Most of these things, except perhaps for race and violence, are not things that we actually can see. They're actually concepts. You can't see love. You can see someone be loving, you can see the effect of it, but love itself you cannot see. The same is true for hate, gratitude, kindness, even religion. You can see a temple or a church, but the faith, the belief itself, is not something that can be seen. That means these things are abstract. So a subject is a topic in a work of fiction, and it's usually something abstract. So this is a good point to pause, turn to your worksheet that you got in class, and please write the definition in as much of your own language as possible for subject. Okay, now we're going to do a little application. What I would like you to do, please, is on the worksheet, please write at least 2 subjects for each of the following short stories. Thank you, ma'am. Just lather, that's all. Wishing it away. And X-15s. Oh, and the alley. These are all stories that we've read together. We've discussed them together. And I'll give you an example for thank you, ma'am. I think a good example of a subject for thank you, ma'am is the subject kindness. Now, kindness is not something you can see or touch, so it is abstract, but we can see the effects. And I think kindness is definitely one of the subjects of the story, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So please stop the video and take a moment to just, even if it's just at least one, try to go for a good subject, something that's abstract if you can, and fill in the sheet. Okay, next we're going to talk about theme. Now, a definition of theme is that it's a statement about the world that is true in a work of fiction. The work of fiction can be literary, which means like a short story or a play that you read, or a novel, or cinematic, which is a movie. So there are themes in both what we read and what we see on TV and in the movie theater. A theme has to be inferred from the story. You have to read it, and from looking at the events and what characters do and the outcome, you can infer, you come to a conclusion about what you think the theme is of the story. Sometimes it is directly stated. So, for example, when you read Just Lather, That's All, at the end of the story, one of the last lines of the entire story, Captain Torres turns to the barber and says, "Killing isn't easy." That sentence is one of the themes of the story. Killing isn't easy. No matter what your reasons for doing it, no matter how angry you may be, it still is not easy. And so you have a character outright say one of the themes. That happens sometimes, not always, though. A theme is also arguable. You have to be able to agree or disagree with it. It's an opinion, therefore. And finally, it is general. It does not mention the specific characters or events from the fictional work. It can also be applied to life. So it has to be inferred, it's arguable, and it is general. Please take a minute, and in as much of your own language as possible, write a definition for theme on the worksheet that you were provided. Pause your video. Okay, now it's time to apply what you've been learning about theme. Please read the following statements, and on your worksheet, I want you to mark yes or no if it is an example of a theme or not. And if it is or isn't, please explain why. Both. Either way, not just if not. So number one, we can do as an example. You can tell who your good friends are because they stick with you no matter what. Now, I would say that yes, this is a theme. And if I look at number one, I would circle Y for yes, and then general or arguable. It is definitely general. It is not only about one book or story. It does not mention a specific character. It doesn't mention Roger or Belinda or Caesar or the narrator from X-15s. It is general. It is not specific. It is also arguable. One could say that good friends, if somebody is doing something wrong, a good friend would say, "Listen, I love you, but I cannot be friends with you. I'm going to go over here and, do what you have to. And if you're ever done with that, we can be friends again." That would also be a good friend. That's someone who's honest and true to themselves as well as their friend. So you can argue number one. And because it's arguable, that's a theme. So it's general, and it's arguable. So let's take a look at the others. I'll read them, and then you can finish the sheet, and then we're done with this lesson. 2. Mrs. Jones' kindness saves Roger. Is that a theme or not? Is it general, and is it arguable? 3. Theft is illegal. Is this a theme? Is it general? Is it arguable? 4. People are more likely to change through love than punishment. 5. Caesar is a selfless person because he fought to get a stolen purse back. 6. A narrator is the voice which tells the story. 7. Sometimes your best friends betray you. And 8. A good Samaritan is a person who helps a stranger. Please take another look at these sentences. We're at the end of the video, so you're done as soon as you're ready to get to work. You can do 1 through 8, please, or actually we did number 1 together. Please do 2 through 8 and figure out, is it a theme, is it general, is it arguable? And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you come to class with your work, and I will see you in our next class. Thank you.